Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Businessmap podcast, where we invite management professionals from all over the world to share their unique experiences with managing transformation, driving strategy execution, managing complex project portfolios, and many more. In today's episode, we have Bruno Morgante with us, who is a renowned PMO leader and the CEO of the business consultancy Mantegora. We talk about PMOs. What is the role of the PMO in today's ever-changing world? How to move from output to outcome-based PMOs? How AI is changing the PMO function, and many more. So without further ado, let's get straight into the episode. Hi, Bruno. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast. First of all, how are you doing?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing great. I'm so happy to have this conversation with you today.
Perfect. And we're going to be talking about PMOs and the transformation of the PMO, what it looks like what is the modern PMO. And I think this topic is very kind of relevant nowadays, and especially in the world with AI right now, how that is affecting PMOs. Those are also interesting insights that you could share with us. But first of all, before we get started, would you like to kind of introduce yourself? What is your path in like project management, portfolio management, all of that?
Of course, with pleasure. I would say I used to introduce myself with I solve problems and deliver results, which is what I have done for all my career, which is now 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last year, I opened my own company, my own business, Mantegora, which is what I use. It's the way I use to fulfill my purpose of making the world a better place by empowering people and delivering impact. But before that, to arrive to that point, there is a very long journey, a journey
Yeah.
that started many years ago in Milano, my city in Italy, and I finished in project management like that, by chance. It was like it happens to many of us, it was like an
Mm-hmm.
accident. I was working with for this company, a big manufacturing company, and at a certain point, after about 6 months in, my manager tells me, Bruno, I think you will be a good project manager. And I was like, me, project management? I didn't know. And but then, of course, he put me on managing small projects, work packages in bigger projects, and after that, I started entering in project management. I never left, and I think I will never leave. It's
Yeah.
it's a field that I love. Um, I made a complete career, like starting like this, accidental project manager, then junior PM, senior PM, program manager, managing multi-million-dollar programs. And then at a certain point, it was roughly 9 years ago, 8 years ago, no, 9 years ago now, I got the opportunity to take the lead of the PMO I was part of. So for me, it was moving from being a program manager, and definitely not the most senior one, in taking the lead of the overall PMO. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a big transformation. It was a big transformation because I was not anymore responsible for the job, for delivering the programs or projects, but I was responsible for the people who were responsible for delivering the projects and the programs. And that was a big change, a big shift, and definitely something that we can that we will address, I believe, in the next few minutes. So that's about it. That's about the introduction and how I approached leading PMOs. Well, as I said, it was 9 years ago. Since that moment, I built, developed, and led different PMOs in different organizations. Some of them did great, others did less than great, but it was always a great experience. We had a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and it was something remarkable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, that's a great story actually. So let's get straight into actually the conversation. I'm wondering to understand what's your what in your experience is like the traditional PMO, and what are the challenges that the traditional PMO faces. What do you think? What kind of challenges have you faced during your long career managing PMOs? What do you see that there could be? Where do you see an improvement that could be made in PMOs?
Yeah, yeah, it's I think you touched, Nick, I think you touched different topics which potentially are different things to address. In general, I don't think the concept of a traditional PMO, it's not something that you find, let's say, in the books, but it is
Mhm.
definitely something that the people have in mind. So if we go out there and we ask people, what do you like? What do you have in mind when you think about a PMO? Of course, a lot of people don't even know what we are talking about, but those that know what we are talking about, they will probably have in mind someone, or either a person or a group of people, a team, which is controlling projects,
Yeah.
implementing templates to be filled out. Some of them might be even a bit more extreme and tell you they are like the police within our organization. So that is it's not, I would not consider it the traditional PMO,
Yeah.
but it is still now, even in 2025, for the vast majority of people out there, it is the feeling, the understanding of a PMO when we would ask them what is a PMO, what a PMO looks like. And that is mm, partially correct, because clearly we know that a lot of the PMOs out there, again, even now in 2025, what they are mostly focusing on is governance and control. It
Mm.
is about ensuring that projects follow certain methodologies, ways of working, that they use the standard template, that they all report projects within a certain time frame using a predefined report. And and so there is this sort of governance and control that we have, and it is part of the game, but it's never, and it was never supposed to be the focus. That's why I don't like to consider it the traditional PMO. Like, we should not
Right.
go out of this conversation thinking that that was a PMO. No, that is a part, it's a component of what a PMO should do, and definitely is not the most important piece. The most
Mhm.
important piece is what a lot of PMOs don't do, either because they don't know, or because they are not allowed, or because it is the most complicated part. Um, and that is the limitation. So you mentioned what are potentially the limits of a PMO, and that is this part. So this part, which is what in the last, I would say, 4 years, we have seen more and more people in our field speaking about that, considering that that should be the focus on adding value, the focus on
Mhm.
doing the right things, of course, doing them right, but doing the right things. Someone that is going to listen to this conversation, they are going to say, yeah, but Bruno, that was always the key, like that was always the focus, and I agree with that. That's why I'm saying it was not the traditional PMO versus the new PMO. It's just that
Right.
there is a natural evolution, which unfortunately in a lot of organizations, in a lot of companies, it is still not moving, it is still not progressing. So this shift, it is what needs to happen. The shift of, okay, it is important to keep things under control, but what for?
Right. Yeah.
And again, you know it. We could have a conversation with those PMOs and ask them, you get all these reports, all that stuff. Who is actually looking at them? Who is
Mm.
actually acting on those things? You collect all this beautiful data. Do you actually use them, or your executives, do they use them to take decisions, or it just fancy stuff that you collect, that you produce, and no one used it?
Yeah, I think you touched on a very important point here, and I think this is the kind of the shift towards outcomes, and outcome management. Because for years, with I think with just organizations, and still they are like that, very much focused on output.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, everybody wonders, okay, we are so busy, everyone is so busy. On paper, our reports look good, but the outcomes, the business outcomes, the ones that really matter, and for most businesses, that's the bottom line, right? It doesn't move. So, do you think that there should be kind of a shift towards this outcomes management when we're talking about PMOs?
There should be, absolutely. There should be. In the end, every time that I address this topic, especially with those that are new into the project management world, I show them the picture showing that we, in project management, we tend to talk about outputs, about the
Mm.
deliverables. What is this project about? Oh, we are implementing a new tool. And why are we doing it? Because the old application is obsolete. I don't know, is out of service now.
Yeah.
Okay, out of fine. But that's not the reason why we are doing it. That's the
Yeah.
output. It's what is the outcome that we want to gain out of it? What's the change that we want to generate into the organization, into our customers? And then what is the value? What are the benefits that we want to generate with this project? And these are different levels which we tend not to see, especially when we're new into project management. We look
Mm.
at the first one and the bottom one, the output and deliverables. But then when we speak with the senior stakeholders, when we speak with executives, they speak another language. They talk about the benefits, the value. This is what they want. They don't care about I'm perfectly using this methodology or
Yeah.
they don't care at all. What they want is they are expecting something. They are expecting to have a certain impact in their organization, towards their customers, towards their people. This is what they are expecting. And that gap, it needs to be filled. And it is a
Yeah.
shift. It's a shift in focus. I have been, in these more than 20 years, I have been both delivering projects and in leading PMOs, which had those projects as well, in which at the end of the day, we had this beautiful, all fantastic, perfect project delivered on scope, on time, on cost. Perfect. And then nobody was using it. So here is the perfect example. It's like, okay, we have now this beautiful digital dashboard. It's fantastic. And we are still not using it because people are still using the paper one or, the Excel files. So
Yeah.
that's the big shift. It's like it's not important to deliver something like that, even to be perfect in delivering something that is wrong, fundamentally wrong. It's actually the wrongest thing that you can do. And we know it. It's like, it would be, what's the reason of investing so much effort and being perfect at delivering something that is not the point, that is wrong?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
something to reflect
Exactly.
on.
Yeah, that's actually a very, and I think we can also mention the agile topic here, and kind of there was this trend at some point doing agile PMOs and stuff like that. And agile, it got really popular because of delivering faster, delivering features faster and projects faster. But I think one of the problems here is that nobody thought, okay, we're getting faster, but it doesn't matter if we're faster if we're delivering the wrong things, right? If we're moving in the right direction. So, do you have experience with that, like with agile transformations in PMOs, and how have they gone in your experience?
It's You touched an interesting one. If you go to my website on the project management and PMO page, you would see at the beginning there is a picture of me and a quote, and the quote says exactly, "Okay, I know because this is a conversation that I had too many times. I know
Mhm.
you want to deliver it faster, but faster to get where?"
Yes. Yeah.
So it's exactly like Where do you want to go? And
Yeah.
that where do we want to go? It is a conversation that you actually should have much earlier than, oh yeah, we need to make it happen. We need to be fast. We need to be quick. Now, when we talk about agile, I think we should also address the fact that it has been, let's say, it's something that makes sense and it has absolutely their place into the different deliveries options, delivering ways that we have. But it has been taken and spread out there over the last 20 years, kind of, in the wrongest possible way. Like it has been taken and used by everyone
Yeah.
in a way to make money. That's
Yeah.
it. Because they found this way, this word agile, which is beautiful. Like if you go to a person and you ask to this person, would you like to be agile? 100% of the people, they will tell you yes, because when you talk about agile, they automatically think about agility, think about being agile instead of being not agile. So nobody would tell you, no, I prefer not to be. So
Yeah.
of course they want to, but that actually means something different. So we all want to have agility. Agile is another thing. Even when you don't deliver using any type of framework or approach which is based on the agile manifesto, you still need to implement agility. You still need to be to have agility in your organization, and that's the trick. But that was being taken, and you know, it's easy to go there and say, yeah, of course, we bring you agile transformations.
Yeah.
And of course, if you bring agile in a project, it doesn't work. If you bring agile in a team, it doesn't work. If you want to have it as an organization, you need to do it as a whole. You can start, of course, with you start small or you start with something, but then gradually you need to bring it to the extent. A couple of examples that I could share with you. One, I hear it very frequently from some, you know, my clients, some of them telling, yeah, we had an agile transformation, but then, you know, when we have to interact with the legal team, they are not agile, or with the cybersecurity team, they are not agile, or with the architects, they are not agile. Because of course, you start in just in a team, it might be a delivery team for a specific project or a set of projects, and that's it. Actually, it needs to be at an organizational level, and it's very difficult. An example, the other one that I share with you, the last one about this topic, clearly, when I was leading a PMO in a big manufacturing company producing trains and airplanes, so you know, big things that you
Complex
don't deliver with
projects.
agile.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
deliver them with agile.
Of course.
There was a team that tried to run a project that was for the digital dashboard that I mentioned before. So it was, and they wanted to do it in agile. So they approached the internal clients. We were working for internal clients about that. It was like they were speaking a different language. So when they told them, we will take all your requirements, we will put them in a backlog, and then we will start delivering it in pieces, and you will review it, we will work together, we will test it, and we will adjust. They were like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't deliver things like this. We give you the, you know, all the requirements, you take it, you sign with blood, and we see each other at the end of the project when everything is delivered perfect. So it's, you see, it's a different conversation that you need to have. It's not just saying, we use this new approach, this new methodology. It's a different thing. It's much bigger.
Yeah. And I think that's also really interesting because you know, the distinction between agile and agility that you also mentioned, and a lot of people have, I think, had this problem with agile, that agile is only, it's just a delivery workflow, like a delivery method at the end of the day. And do you actually have any experience with doing strategic planning or anything like that in an agile fashion, and improving strategy with through agility? Because maybe that's the gap that should be closed, right? We are agile on the team level, but then if like the management is not agile and we do things that we like how we've done them always, with our planning, then we can't deliver and we can't align, and then there's just a gap, and once again the organization is not agile. So yeah, I was just what do you think
The,
about that?
the funny thing is that, and it's something that I didn't thought about until a couple of years ago. When you look at the two approaches, let's say the predictive and adaptive, okay, or waterfall and agile, we could call them, but let's say predictive and adaptive. In the predictive one, so the traditional one,
Yes.
you have a predefined scope that is fixed. And then what is variable is the time that you need, which you estimate based on the scope, and the money that you need, the cost that you need, based on, of course, your estimation. In the adaptive approach, it's the opposite. So you might say, okay, we have a certain time box. You
Hmm.
call it a sprint or a series of sprints or iterations, whatever. And we know that we have a certain fixed amount of money, which is the people, the resources that you have, and how much do you want to spend. Based on that, we will understand what is the piece of scope that we can deliver into that period of time, which
Right.
is, variable. So you have
Yeah.
it inverted. It's oversimplifying, oversimplifying. If you think about it, the adaptive approach, it is exactly how a budget for every corporation it is designed. So you have a certain amount of money that is defined for a certain amount of time, which is 1 year usually, and then you decide what to do,
Hmm.
how you run your operations, how you run your projects, what projects, based on this fixed budget and resources that you have.
Yeah.
But then everything else is actually working in a predictive way. So
Yeah.
it's curious to see that. But this is not applied. It follows that at the beginning, but then of course you enter into the different approach, which is okay. Now we know that we have this amount of money into this amount of time, and then you define the scope, and then you start estimating how you can deliver this fixed scope, and then you do it. And when you have to deliver, you might say, okay, I want to deliver this stuff in chunks, in iterations. I want to have a continuous interaction with you,
Yeah.
and we work on it together. What is the biggest difficulty that I see there? It is that some on one side, the planning, this high level strategic planning, bringing together company objectives and execution, it is set in stone once a year, and then it's not touched. Even if things go wrong, you don't go back there and adjust it. You don't
Hmm.
learn from your mistakes. At the same time, when you try to implement a certain level of agility with the delivery teams, you will always encounter someone which works in a different way, which says, I don't care about that. I don't want you to be empowered to run things yourself. You need to pass through me, and you need to follow my way of working. And then you might say, yeah, but if we work together, we actually can do it better. Like
Mm.
if you come to me and we work together into the discovery phase of this activity, you will discover things, you will learn things, and we can work together and do it. And then on the other side, you have someone saying, I don't care. You take this input, you work on it, you come back to me, you give it to me. I will only check it at that point. And then if it doesn't work, I send you back and you do the work again.
Right.
So you have, as you see, you can start working in a certain way, but it's a much bigger beast that you need to address.
Yeah.
And then again, does it apply to everyone? Like we cannot say, and for too many years, companies have been out there saying that was, it's the silver bullet. You use it and it's not. It's not.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
Usually, I think this is probably the first time, or let's say the longest time that I'm talking about it, because usually when I interact with people, or when I do my sessions, my talks or workshops, I make it simple. I explain what are the differences in the approach. I of course include also hybrid into it, and then I say these are tools. You need to learn how they work. Consider them as tools in your toolbox, There are things for which one is better than another, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually that's why I think the biggest value is probably the visibility and the transparency. Like having an environment, having a maybe a system, but something that lets you see uh like not having your strategy having it isolated from your execution, because that's really where the problem happens. And
Yeah.
we've seen that in Business Map, for example, time and time again. uh, Senior executives plan, they have their strategy in one place, and then the project management, the PMO practices, they just happen in a separate place, and the output is not really connected to the outcomes. So
Yeah.
we set some outcomes that we wanted to achieve. We're doing our project management thing, somewhere else, and we totally forget about the outcomes. And yeah, we maybe have delivered our output. Everything looks fine in terms of deadlines, in terms of cost, but then we see the outcomes, and the business has not kind of moved forward. And yeah, do you think that type of transparency is necessary for PMOs?
It's not only, I mean, it's more than necessary.
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and I see two big issues when we talk about this topic. One is more, let's say, on the human side of things, and it is related to how bad we are at communicating and at asking questions. Too frequently, you said it, there is someone closed in a boardroom defining a strategy,
Mhm.
usually with a very expensive management consultancy company next to them. They do it, they have these fancy slides, they come out with some high level statements, they print posters, they put it on the wall, and if you go then and speak with the people on the floor and you ask them, how is this strategy looks like to you, they have no idea. If you ask them, how is your daily activity, whatever is their job, being them project managers or
Yeah.
business analysts, technical people, manufacturing guys, and you ask them, how is your job, your activity contributing to that strategy sentence that you see on the wall, they don't know it. And
Yeah.
this translation, it's one of the biggest mistake that I see across organizations, any type, any industry, any place in the world. It's not specific. So our leaders, in whatever place they are, they need to learn how to honestly translate those things into something that the other people understand. This is usually the worst nightmare for the middle management, because they are there in the middle between a beautiful dream, which is intangible up there, and the people on the floor, which actually have to make it happen. How do you translate it? So
Mm.
that's one of the big issues of what you have described. So would the transparency be nice to have? Absolutely. Like it would be fantastic for everyone, for absolutely for everyone. It is actually also something that triggers motivation at work. You know the story of the cathedral and the three bricklayers. So if every person in the company knows that they are contributing to building the cathedral, they are going to get inspired. They will
Yeah.
love to go to work every day because they know that they are contributing to that. If you don't build this bridge, then that's a problem. Now, on the other side, we spoke about the difference, between the strategy and then the execution, and then we might execute beautiful things, but then we don't connect output and outcome. One of the things that I see here is that too frequently, especially in the big corporations, we speak about strategic alignment.
Mhm.
And when we talk about alignment, we are talking about nothing. The alignment, it's easy. We can have a conversation and we can say, yeah, Nick and I are aligned.
Right. Yeah.
Alignment, it's intangible. Like
Yeah.
alignment is not the point. The point is, how is this project, this initiative, this idea, how is it going to contribute to the strategic objective that we have defined? So identify the contribution, not the alignment. Alignment,
Right.
it's easy. We can always find way to say, yeah, yeah, of course we are aligned. Of course this project is aligned with the idea of selling more. Okay.
Yeah.
How is it actually contributing to sell more? Like going to finding ways. So this difference between alignment and contribution, it is key. And and it is one of those elements which unfortunately it's not being addressed. It's not being addressed as it should.
Yeah. And I think what you also just mentioned, um, through the contribution, how people can really get inspired and motivated. Because I think this has, just in the project management world, this has been a challenge for many, many years. How do we kind of motivate people, and make them really, motivated to contribute to our company? Well, at the end of the day, if they don't know what they're contributing to, and how their work actually moves or helps move business outcomes forward, then yeah, they'll not be motivated. And at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel satisfied with the
Yeah.
things that they're doing, right?
Yeah,
You want,
absolutely.
yeah, you go to work and you want to feel that your work matters at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
um, now I wanted to shift kind of the conversation here. You mentioned something when we talked about the agile stuff, that it was abused kind of for making money. And as you know, right now the new trend kind of all over the world is AI. And I feel like people are already abusing AI just for the money. uh, do you think that AI has, or what type of role can AI have in PMOs?
It's you're spot on, and I will not open the Pandora's box of AI being used for
Yeah, please
as a
don't.
money-making machine, but we all know that, and maybe that is the reason why agile is not a buzzword anymore. Maybe
Yeah, yeah. AI
I'll close.
has taken over the place. Yes.
I'll close the parentheses now. On how AI can actually help project managers and PMOs. Uh, there are a lot of elements that we can think of. High level, very high level, I would say, and this is what I say to all the people that ask me help with that. As a person on projects, I think our future is brilliant. We have plenty of years in which we will still have companies shifting towards doing more and more projects. So becoming good at doing that, it's going to be a great investment. It's a great playground to be. I'm very happy about that.
Mhm.
Now, should you focus on? You should not focus on the things that a lot of people, a lot of project managers in the past were looking at, which is how to perfectly plan my project, how to perfectly know and apply that specific methodology, that framework, filling out that report, providing that, writing lessons learned and that nobody ever read, identifying risks, trying to find mitigations for risks. All of that stuff, it's important. It still is, but all that stuff is going to be done by AI. Much
Mm.
better than you, faster than you. It will be updated constantly, non-stop. And that's a great added value. So as a project manager, what should you focus on is the other side, is the human side of things. Because until we humans are part of the game, and I hope we will be part of the game for many years,
Hopefully, yes.
until we are, the ability to create a connection, the ability to engage with your stakeholders, bring different people with different agendas, with different interests, different backgrounds around a table, sometimes a virtual table, and ensure that they don't have to agree on everything, but at least they need to agree on the next steps for your specific
Right.
project, for the
Yeah.
why we are actually doing this project. this is a very human set of skills which are required to make it happen. And these are the skills that project managers should focus on. Now, how AI is going to help us? There are multiple ways. When I think about a PMO, and it is already something that I started discussing, I would say it was 3 years ago, probably 2022, 2023. Yeah, end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I think. When ChatGPT started to be a thing.
Yeah, it was beginning of 2023, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was beginning of 2023. And this is where for that PMO that I was leading back then, I started looking at how or what we could do. And I think what was identified back then is potentially still the good things that we can bring in. Definitely, I know a lot of PMOs are spending a lot of time into answering to the internal people questions coming from project managers, from any other function or team in the organization. How do I fill out this stuff? How do I do this? How do I do that? How is this correct? Is this where is the template? Where is that? All that stuff, clearly having an AI powered chatbot would be very beneficial for everyone. That's easy. I mean, it's an easy thing, but already I don't think too many PMOs have implemented it. That could be a very good one. Then when I think about the delivery of projects, I mentioned before the lessons learned that everybody, we all go through the painful process of writing them, putting them there, archiving them on a SharePoint, and then nobody looks at them anymore. Now imagine if we would have all those lessons learned given into an AI-powered tool, which is then going to look at all of them based on the type of projects, the people involved, the current situation, the market situation, and so on. And then before you start a project, actually this tool is going to tell you, hey, Nick, before you start running, look at these things. These are the lessons that you should consider to implement before start. And that actually, again, it's theoretically, we should have always done it, but we never did it. Now, having a tool that gives it to us in an easy, automated way, it's going to be a big added value for the delivery of projects. Of course, for the delivery of projects, we can talk about how much better it's going to be to identifying risks and mitigation actions. So risk management is going to be improved. Then if nobody listened to it, that's another story.
Yeah, of course.
When I look at on the other side of the spectrum, so before we even start a project, when we have all the beautiful wish list and we have to go through the typical portfolio management funnel, how do we identify what actually is the right initiative to do? Thinking about it, AI has the possibility to provide a big added value from the success prediction point of view, knowing like, okay, we have all this stuff. We know the resources that we have. We know the capabilities. We know what's going on right now in the company. We know the market. We know the situation around us. What would be potentially the right initiative to start with? Like, what's the number one? And then you can get a meaningful output out of that prediction. Again, how we decision makers, so humans at the moment, how are we going to take this information and use it? It's another story. So we might have AI providing a lot of valid inputs to us for our decisions, but then it's up to us to decide, do we want to listen to it or we don't care and we just continue because the big boss said it's ABC, we do ABC.
Yeah. And I think you touched on a very important point here, talking about how kind of the work, not just that project managers do, but business people in general, it's going to be more focused on communication and understanding relationships, right? Building relationships, because at the end of the day, you if you're a salesperson, for example, you want to build someone from another person that you know, right? And everything else can be done with AI for sure. Um, I'm not very sure about the strategy part. What do you think about using AI to do strategy, like to help you do strategy? Because I always think that yes, once again, it can help you do it, but at the end of the day, you need your human touch. You know.
I definitely believe we need it. Because think about it. If you would delegate that completely to AI, well, then what would be the point to have the humans in the loop?
Yeah.
Like you could say to AI, that's my company, that's my picture, do a strategy, run it, make it happen. Maybe it will be successful. I don't know. But then again, if that is going to be the way forward, we have much bigger questions to ask ourselves in our world, in our
Oh
society.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, definitely.
so I think it's a topic for another conversation, for another podcast. But
Maybe
uh,
a few years down the line, who
yeah,
knows? Yeah.
but for sure, every time that we have to consider data to take a decision, whatever is the decision, being this strategic decision, being this identifying in which direction I want to move my business, my organization, being this what projects should I do first or prioritize in my portfolio, or based on the stuff that I have in the fridge, what is the best use of them, knowing their expiry date and the feeling that I have tonight to prepare a meal? Well, AI can help us because
Yeah.
it's definitely can help us. Does it mean that it will make the best choice? Not really. Does it
Yeah.
mean that we absolutely have to listen to what is coming out of that? Not really, but we definitely can have that help. So I think it is definitely contributing. It could augment us humans into the decision making process, but for the time being, I still see human driving it.
Yeah, right. So, how about, maybe our audience that wouldn't know this, but we talked about this in the backstage. So, could you share like a story between a successful PMO that you had, a successful story, and one that kind of didn't go so well, and maybe the lessons learned?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I would like to start from the lessons learned,
Mm-hmm.
because the lesson is applicable to everyone that is running, leading a PMO, but also any other type of business function. And my lesson is identify, like, find the answer to the question, why do we exist? For a PMO, why does our PMO exist? Find an answer to that question. And once you find it, then you can work towards it, and that will help you to be successful. I know it sounds like, okay, that's easy, but
Yeah.
it's not really easy. And I think it is where my two stories that I will share in a minute are diverging. So, on one side, one PMO that was extremely successful. It was incredibly clear to me, and then I made it very clear to my team why that PMO existed. It is the first time that I took a PMO. So I got when I mentioned before, I got the promotion, I took the PMO, and the situation around us was changing. There was a big reorganization. The world around us was changing. So I knew that we had to go through some important changes. We had to change our way of working. We actually had, in a nutshell, in our situation, we had to transform from a governance and control, a very heavy governance and control PMO, into a lean PMO that was supporting and actually driving the delivery of projects. So it was an
Okay.
important shift that we had to do. This was the reason why our new PMO existed. And when that was clear to me, I made it clear to the team, and we all worked step by step to make it happen. That
Mm.
PMO was incredibly successful. We had great results as a team. We had great individual results. Every person in the team, improved. They became much better professional and people, humans, in what they were doing. We had we were working well in the organization. Of course, it was not every day, unicorns and rainbows,
Yeah, of course,
clearly,
definitely.
but it was like we were doing our job. We were doing it well. We were delivering and speaking outcome, not output, with our organization.
Once again,
It
yeah.
was really an impact that you could see. It was a journey for us. It was 4 years roughly, the journey from 2017 to 2020, 2021. Yeah, 2020, I would say, including the beginning of COVID, which was the end of that. And that was great. Like I still talk about this story in some of my keynotes, in one of my keynotes, and it is I address it as my dream team. That's
Oh,
my dream team.
okay.
Then when I think about transformation that failed, the reason why it failed, it was on one side, we all thought, including my manager, that we knew the answer to the question why does this PMO exist?
Mm.
But actually we didn't know it. We didn't know it because the conditions around us were different than initially. They changed over time, and that organization was not ready and not willing to have that global PMO running things in a different way.
Mhm.
They loved their status quo. They didn't want to change it. And every time we were trying to implement something which may absolutely made sense, it was not possible to implement it. The conversation was always constantly diverted from the the topic that we should address into, oh, but look over there is another story, which is like, yeah, but that's not the point. We should address this. Yeah, no. Let's talk about that first, knowing that that was never going to be fixed. So that is a way in which you might know very well what you have to do. You might have the best people around you, but if the environment is not ready or not willing, even worse, well, then it's very, very hard to make it happen. This, Nick, I can tell you, it's a very common situation. A lot of the clients that approach me for guidance, one-on-one or coaching or mentoring guidance, they come with stories similar to this one. I know what I have to do. My team knows what we have to do, but we cannot do it. We cannot move. It looks like we are somehow blocked from the conditions around us, and
Yeah.
and so it's a
Yeah.
very common situation. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a kind of a principle of life also. If you want to do something, just start with your goal, right? With um once again the objective, maybe the strategy, the vision that you have, and to define why you do what you're doing, and in the PMO's case, why we exist, right? What is our main goal, main objective, and go from there, because it's really, if you don't know, once again, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't have the right direction, just like what you mentioned, another just story comes in, you think that that's the important stuff in the moment that you have to talk about, and you shift your focus, and it's really chaotic, and yeah, I think things just don't happen that way.
I agree, and usually I can add this. What I have always done when I was leading PMOs, it was clearly identifying my main stakeholder, the main one, the
Okay.
man or the woman, and go and have a conversation with them and ask them what I mean. We have, it's like the menu at the restaurant. We have so many beautiful things that we can implement, that we
Yeah.
can provide. What is your priority number one? What is your priority number two? And your priority number three? Like, what are the three key elements that you want us to focus on?
Yeah.
And that conversation is so important to have, and it can be a very difficult conversation to have, but understanding that is going to be a very good starting point to later on understand, identify in which direction do you need to move your PMO. But start with that. Like,
Yeah.
what is the key? What is the number one thing that you want me to deliver in the next, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is?
Yeah.
And that is a very good, let's say, it's a good tool to use to identify that, to
Yeah.
find an answer to that question.
Yeah, in other words, kind of have your priorities straight, right? And we always talk about priorities, right? Multiple priorities, so many priorities. And generally at one given time, we could have one priority, right? So we move from one priority to the another priority to the other priority, but we can't have too many priorities at the same time. It just doesn't work like that.
We know it. If everything is a priority, nothing is a priority.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right. So what about kind of the future of PMOs? Where do you see PMOs going, and what would be your advice for PMO leaders who are looking to change, who are looking to drive a transformation?
I think the future for PMOs, exactly like the future for people in projects, is bright. I think we have plenty of opportunities to demonstrate the added value of doing the right things and doing them right. This is my piece of advice to both people in like so PMs, PMOs, everyone in projects. As I said it briefly before, start focusing on developing your human skills. It is
Mm,
about communication, working with others, working well with others, making it easy to work, asking questions, good questions, listening, really listening to understand, not to reply,
mm,
developing all the set of skills that will help you to develop your emotional intelligence, becoming self aware, being able to manage yourself, becoming aware of the conditions around you, the society, the what's going on, the emotions at play in teams, in organizations, learning how to be develop your empathy, but then also your capability to work with others, to inspire people around you, to guide people around you, especially if you lead projects. That's going to be incredibly important. And these are the skills that I say to everyone in projects: focus on them, focus on those skills. Someone still calls them soft skills, I call them human skills. PMI calls them power skills, but we are talking about the same. These are the skills. Develop them, because these are going to be the key differentiating factor between you doing whatever job and someone that actually is necessary and great at doing their activity. So that's one thing. For people leading PMOs, my number one piece of advice is stop talking about documentation, uh, controlling, reporting. Stop that. Like, of course, that stuff is still going to happen, but elevate your conversation. Engage your stakeholders, which means you go to them, get to know them, understand them, have a conversation like the one that I mentioned. Like, what are the two things, the three things that you want me to deliver?
yeah.
Because like we can, like, what do you want us to focus on? Trigger that, understand the person that you have on the other side of the screen or on the table, and then understand what is that where is the area in which you can add value. So
Right.
if I have to, the picture that we can say is, what does value means for your company, for your
Mm,
organization, for your
That's
stakeholders, because
it's
it
a
has a
good way to
different
put it.
meaning.
Yeah.
So what does value means? Learn it, understanding, and then do a lot of that, deliver a lot of that, because this is the only possible way to stay relevant, or to become relevant.
Mm,
A lot of the PMO leaders, they have a problem. They say, I am great at what I do. We are great, in from a technical standpoint, we are fantastic, but we don't get a seat at the table. How can I get a seat at the table? How can I bring myself from being tactical and operational execution person into becoming a sitting at the table where the strategy is discussed?
Yeah.
And that shift, which is not easy at all, but that shift, you can
Okay.
only have it if you start speaking that language, if you start speaking about benefits, value, outcome. Don't talk about the output, the methodology, the templates, that stuff. It's never going to give you a seat at the table.
All
So
right.
elevate yourself with that type of conversation.
Right. That's a very nice way of putting it. And also, I think that's a good advice to move from an output to kind of outcome based environment, and also have the transparency, right? Like have the see how those conversations that you're having actually impact and translate into, not just output, but into outcomes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Bruno, very much for joining us on our podcast. It's been a blast. And maybe we should do one more. Who knows?
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. It was an absolute pleasure for me to be here. I love the conversation. I love how it was. It was like the two of us, sitting at a cafe, just having a chat. I love that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. All right. Thank you very much.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.